And from the Lebanon culture, what do you incorporate?
Yeah, this is a big one.
Or it's already lost in the past?
I'm definitely very connected to my Lebanese heritage. What's interesting is when I left Canada, so in Canada, it was always like, oh, but where are you really from? Where are you from? And it was always referring to, oh, I'm
But you're
half
born
Lebanese.
in Canada, right?
I am. But there's always, So once I left Canada, I became only Canadian. But there's also a beauty about it, because it also made me sad when I left Canada that I just became Canadian. I was like, yeah, but I'm Canadian, but I'm also half Lebanese. So I was actually, it wasn't a positive thing that I just became Canadian. And in Canada, it wasn't a negative thing that I was also Lebanese. And that's an amazing thing about Canada, is you get to be both.
Yeah.
So, which is not a given anywhere in the world. And that's one of the beautiful things about Canada. But to be honest, I think probably what's most Lebanese in me is some of my mindset, in terms of also like my relationship to family, even like an intensity of language with family, an intensity of kind of love and loyalty in a way, and that's to many cultures, but that's probably in me what I feel is most Lebanese.
Do you find any similarity between Lebanese culture, Canadian culture, and Korean culture?
Oof, that's a tough one.
Probably not. I don't
No,
know.
and I mean, I've never lived in Lebanon, so I can't really speak to...
But I heard some stories from you about your childhood when you lived with your parents, about food, Lebanese food, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So even if you never lived there,
Yes.
your parents or your father teach you or,
a lot. Yeah. And my parents actually lived in Lebanon. So my mom lived in Lebanon, and they came because of the war. So my eldest brother was born there. So their plan was to live in Lebanon. And my father had Lebanese restaurants in Montreal.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, wow. This is amazing.
So it was a huge part. I mean, I was in a Lebanese culture. What's I find really sad is that I don't speak Arabic, and language is a door to a culture, which is why I speak to my kids in French. So even if I would be more comfortable speaking to them in English, to be honest, I just want them to at least understand, so they have a door to their heritage, which I don't have. I don't have too much here that I can make a link yet. To me, like Quebec and Copenhagen had a lot in common. Coming from Japan to Korea, it's very, very, very different. So Japan is very, so my experience in Tokyo is very calm, and here is very boisterous.
People sometimes have misconceptions about expat life. I often receive questions like, what are you doing during your days? It's so boring. You do nothing. You spend your days cleaning or sitting in the couch watching Korean drama. I never even saw one Korean drama.
Oh, good. You make me look good, because I'm pretty bad.
But what about your days? I'm not the rule, of course.
Yeah.
But what about your days as an expat? Also, like an expat in other countries. So you have different experience.
Yes. Well, when I worked, it was very different. But I don't know that, I mean, the day-to-day is still just being a mom or just working, and now I'm taking classes, I'm volunteering, but it's really, you do everyday life, like I haven't seen still 80% of the touristy things to see in Seoul, and I will, but I kind of save that for when guests come to visit, because I'm just living everyday life.
Yeah, but imagine your day. Do you attend courses? You go to classes? I met you in a cooking class.
There you go.
So yeah. I saw your pictures volunteering, and I said, oh, how can she speak with local community?
Yeah.
So you did lots of things, different things.
Yeah.
Are you taking classes, Korean classes?
I am taking Korean classes with the city, which is fantastic. And it's teaching me so much about Korean culture. I mean, what's nice about learning it's just making me feel like engaged. So even if I can't use it, I feel like I'm engaged with where I'm living because I'm learning the language, no matter where I get to. And I'm at that phase, someone will tell me something, and I'm like, I I know these words. And about 5 minutes later, I'm like, there's like a...
Yeah. And do you try to speak with Koreans? They understand you when you speak?
Very little. I can order,
Like it's
so basic.
Yeah, I'm just able to speak with taxi drivers,
Yeah.
in front, right, left, for this address, thank you.
Yeah.
Basic stuff, And still
Are you taking courses?
online.
Okay.
I'm always taking courses of something online.
Yeah.
I'm still struggling with my English,
How many languages do you speak?
Portuguese, French, English, a little bit German, a little bit of Spanish, but it's just a few things. It's just surviving things,
Wow.
But learning is part of being alive,
Yeah.
Kimchi project cares about health, exercise, and we really think that exercise is a huge component in the lifespan and well-being and longevity. Do you have the chance to exercise here?
Yes. I'm completely devoted Pilates, but on the reformer.
Pilates?
No, on the reformer.
On the reformer.
Yes.
It's good.
I love it. So I have back problems, and to me, it's not only about staying in shape, let's say, but if I do Pilates on the reformer, then I don't go to the doctor. Like, it's that amazing for me. And no other exercise is as good for my back as Pilates on the reformer. So right now, in Tokyo, I did group, and then sometimes one-on-one, but I did group. I had a phenomenal teacher. Here I'm doing, now I'm doing 1 to 2, so we're 2 people, and I also have another phenomenal teacher. Yeah. So you do it on the reformer and mat?
I do both.
Yeah.
I do once per week reformer, and I do almost every day mat.
Yeah. I've actually, another thing for balance, I've started taking ballet here.
Oh, really?
Which
Wow.
I've never done in my life. So that I've started taking classes in, and I love it.
So a part of these exercise, connections and social interactions are also super important for longevity. And speaking about bringing people together, in Portugal, food has an important role in bringing people together. In my family, majority of pictures are close to tables.
Amazing. Yeah.
How is with your heritage in Lebanon or Canadian or...
Yes, it's the same. So a Lebanese table is abundant. Like the amount of food, I think it doesn't compare to the stereotypical Canadian, although Canada is so diverse but it really doesn't. Like the amount of food that a Lebanese gathering has is
insane.
Mind-blowing. It's amazing. So this, yes, for sure. And in Canada too, the party happens in the kitchen in Quebec, in Montreal, but it also happens on the balcony. But it does happen in the kitchen. Yeah, absolutely. We come together around food.
But in Canada, it's more barbecue, like American style, no? Am I wrong?
I mean, yeah, there is barbecue. So much of the year is cold. So
yeah,
we don't really... you barbecue in the summer, but it's not like...
Yeah, in the winter.
I don't think it's the same as what you're thinking of, like the stereotypical American. Barbecue wasn't a huge part of my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have these amazing stories. Please, you need to share.
How do you remember?
In that moment, actually, I thought as a parent, because sometimes as a parent, you really need to simplify some stuff.
Yeah.
And I saw in that story a lot of care and love, because your father actually just simplify everything, to turn everything easy, It was a father love in that story.
Yeah, totally. Okay, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is going to go into the world. It's such a personal,
No, I just have a few viewers, I don't have so much subscribers, it's okay.
Yeah, so I was very young. I must have been under, I think probably younger than 8 years old, because of the house we were living in, I think. And also, memory taints, but I came home and my brothers were watching television with my father. We're watching a movie, and my father was eating something. My brothers were not. And when I said, I was like, "Oh, what are you eating?" And so he didn't know how to answer, and they were watching the movie Goonies. So he said, "Oh, I'm eating Goonies." And then several years later, I liked Goonies. I ate Goonies. Several years later, I asked him, I was like, what are Goonies? And it turns out that they're testicles. And of course, I did not know that. But I was the kid who ate everything. I ate brains, I ate hearts,
So, if you told you before,
yeah,
you will never try it, It's
Yeah.
like...
Yeah. Well, now I don't really eat. I mean, I don't know when yeah. But I was the kid who ate everything. So, at Easter, we used to make a mishwi, like a lamb roast, a lamb
Yes.
on the pit.
Yes.
And I used to scoop out the eyes. But it was a little bit as also a shock factor. I don't know why I'm saying this, but to the point of which has helped me living in different cultures, because I will try anything.
Yeah.
Almost, pretty much.
As you said, here in Korea, sometimes I'm eating stuff that I even don't know what I'm eating, It's like...
Yeah. Sometimes it's better not to know.
Yeah,
Just
yes, exactly. It's tasty or not tasty. It's good. Okay.
Exactly.
Let's move on.
I've been obsessed with Korean stew, like jjigae.
Yeah.
I could, in the winter, I found this little hole in the wall restaurant, which I can take you to. And you take a number and you have to say your order before you go sit down. But they have a backbone stew. Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
Really? Is your favorite food from Korea?
Probably, actually.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to it as well. But very winter food.
And from Lebanon, what is your favorite food?
There's a lot. From Lebanon, I like a lot. The green bean stew, loubie, which is like a green bean stew, or the okra stew. I love kaftaneh, which is like the Lebanese tartare. It's like a raw meat that you eat with onion and mint. Yep. This is one of the first things I eat when I go back to Montreal. I also love a cheese, baladi. It's like a very soft, kind of mozzarella texture-ish, but very salty with apricot jam. I love all Lebanese food, but these are...
to cook?
Since I've had kids, I like it less. Let's put it that way. I'm not a huge cook. I do enjoy it, but I enjoy cooking...
Specific things.
What
is your comfort food?
This is probably my favorite Lebanese food, is lentils, is mujadra, but there's different ways of making it. My favorite, this is my comfort food to me, is lentils and rice, but it's mixed together. So it kind of looks like a porridge, that with a garlic salad, very small vegetables. But lentils is one of my biggest comfort foods.
I think this is the most healthy comfort food that I've heard until now.
But I don't make it, see? But when I go back home, my mom makes it for me. But I need to learn how to make it. Whenever I've tried, I haven't been that successful.
You do have 2 kids, correct? So when in the school they ask them, where are you from?
Well, I think now they're more rooted in Canada. But it was interesting, the story I always tell. So my son, one day in Tokyo, I was waiting outside of the kombini, the corner store with my daughter because she was sleeping. And my son went in to buy, I don't know, an ice cream or something. And it took him so long. And he was young, maybe 7, I don't know, 8. And then I came out, I was like, what took you so long? And he said, oh yeah, well I went in and then the man asked me where I was from. So I told him, I'm born in Switzerland, but I grew up in Denmark, and now I live in Japan, but my parents are Canadian. And I was just like, oh goodness. So it was just like, so he actually answered that question with all of those things together. Now I think he would probably, as a 10-year-old, he'd probably say I'm Canadian, I think. But, and then when we moved here at school, there was an exercise, and my daughter, they said, where are you from? And she drew a Japanese flag and a Canadian flag. So she really identified with both of those. I think it's fluid. I think they also know that, they also recognize that they're not Canadian.
They really fit in this third culture kids theory, that they really embrace different culture, and it's okay. I like this theory because they give you examples that it's okay to have a mix of cultures and not just have one or two cultures. There are lots of kids like that in the world, and these should be embraced and take the best of the different cultures, and not just say, "Oh no, we should not go through this way."
You have to tell me more about the theory, because I actually don't know about that.
I give you the book.
I'd love that.
I think that is one of the most magical things in the life. It's being in touch with difference.
And it's okay to change.
Yes,
To
of
me,
course.
it's like there's also so much defining going on. It's like you change so much in life.
Exactly.
And it's a big beauty of living in different places, because you change your opinion on things because you experience it from a completely different
Yes,
angle.
of course. So what do you miss the most in Canada? If you miss. Are you going there often?
Yeah, so with COVID, we didn't go for 3 years, which was huge. And then now before and after, we go for the summer. I go for the summer. It kind of depends when I worked in Copenhagen, but I still went for a fairly decent chunk of the summer. Other than the very obvious family and friends, which obviously I miss so much, is I think the ease of the language. Just being able to, and I'm someone who loves like having a relationship with the person who works at the natural food store. I love natural food stores. So I love having, kind of that relationship which is on a certain level, which stays chit chat and knowing people. So that's what I miss about life there.
How do you manage the friendships that you are collecting through these expats? How do you maintain connections with the people that you met in different countries?
I think that also the people who you meet in different countries are in the same situation often. So there's kind of a mutual understanding that the love doesn't go anywhere, but you can't keep the exchange on a regular daily level. You keep the relationship going, but it doesn't have to be, I think that it comes in like little pockets of whether it's a phone call or whether we get to see each other in person, but it's like these beautiful, intense pockets where you start from where you left off. You know what I mean? You don't have to catch up on the whole thing. But I have dear friends in every location, and a lot of them have moved to different places. Even my friends in Canada, not all of them are in Montreal. They've all gone to different places in Canada or the world. But I feel like a beautiful net.
What do you imagine yourself doing in future? Are you staying here? Do you pretend to stay here longer? Do you have any idea if you will stay longer? How long you will stay? If it's just
no, usually I think it's 3 to 5 years here, roughly, and then who knows what's next?
Okay, you don't have plans.
No.
Imagine that now you move to Canada again. What will be your job, your work? You will go back to actress? I don't know.
I actually have no idea if I would go back to acting or if I would keep doing the coaching training I do. I don't know. It's very hard to live as an actor. And it's very much about having a network as well. And now I'm completely out of that. So I don't know if I would go back to that.
Did you realize that the needs before COVID and after COVID were different?
Yeah, they were completely different. I think now maybe it's gone back a little bit to pre-COVID. It kind of depends on. But then there was just, we were kind of afraid of each other in a sense. And in this particular company we worked with, they had also grown so much during COVID. So there are a lot of people who just didn't know each other. So who worked together but never in person. And it was about creating, so theater exercises kind of provided an opportunity for people to have a shared intensity together in a way, and learn about each other in a setting that was safe, that was playful, and then bring that back to work.
Did we change with COVID, or we are precisely the same?
I think it depends on where you lived during COVID. So Japan, we were in Japan. I think is probably one of the best places to be during COVID, because people were very respectful and people followed the rules, and so the rules didn't have to be, weren't enforced in a way that was, you know, robbing people of their rights, which I think was the case in a lot of countries. So I didn't feel that in Japan. So from the outside, I feel like it was less of a trauma than what I felt other people experienced in different places. In Canada, I saw a lot of people be very divided, and that's very heartbreaking. But I think now it's going back. Yeah. Where were you during COVID?
France, and for me was the perfect place to be.
Okay, well, why was it the perfect place?
I didn't feel like I was locked. I could do my groceries, I could go outside, I could ride bicycle, I could play tennis outside. I think that we just stayed 1 week or 2 weeks that we really were in home. But after that, we could, if you have a reason, you could fulfill one form and you can go outside or with your kid, or if it's a park, it's an open space, you could do it.
Yes.
In a very safe way, of course. And you know, wherever you are, if it's not your country, you really follow the rules.
I agree.
Actually, during COVID, we attended the F1 race, you know, Formula One.
Oh, wow.
France was still in kind of lockdown, slowly back to normality, to new normality. And in Marseille, people was in parties, you know. There was no COVID, no masks, no nothing. I was shocked. The restaurants fully packed. Okay, let's go for the Formula One race. Coming back to you, what advice would you give to someone that was thinking about maybe this expat life could be interesting for me, but I have kids, maybe it's not so good, or maybe I don't have kids, but I would like that have kids in another country. How is the experience?
I've loved the experience.
So you recommend it?
Yeah, for sure. Because just like we were saying before, there's such an opportunity for growth. Like, it's made me so much more open.
And which country did you recommend the most?
That I can't say.
All of them are good.
Yeah, I've loved every one of them, and I know that I will fall in love with every one of them.
So do you prefer to return to one of the countries that you lived already, or just move for another that you don't know? Or go to Canada?
There's nowhere I wouldn't go back to. I've never gone back to visit a place I've lived in.
Really?
Yeah. And I think it's a little bit because it would hurt my heart.
Yeah, it's different being tourist and being resident.
Yeah.
And about Canada. Now Canada is a super search country by students, university students, and that are looking for new opportunities. One of the things good about Canada, at least for people from abroad, is that they don't require experience. They embrace you as a new person to teach you how to become a good professional.
What's amazing about Canada, and I mean, I haven't lived there now for a long time, so I don't, but is that it can be yours. So you can move to Canada and you will be as Canadian as your neighbors within almost instantly, to be honest. And that's something that I'm very proud of and that I love. It's making me emotional. But yeah, so, and I mean, I don't know what the statistics are now, but there was some crazy statistic about Toronto at some point before I left, that more than 50% of the population was born outside of Toronto. And everyone who moves to Toronto is as much a Torontonian as the next person. And that's incredible. And I'm saying this also as the daughter of an immigrant. Like, when my father died, he was Canadian. Like, there's something, and he became Canadian very quickly. And yes, he married a Canadian woman, so that helps. But I think even like the beauty of Canada is it can be yours.
Back in history in Canada,
yeah,
all people were immigrant there.
Yes,
the majority of them. So
yes.
Historically,
yes.
recent.
There's a lot of immigrants, and it's so forward thinking in that sense, and it's what makes it beautiful. It's incredible.
Thank you so much,
Let's go to
Christine.
Canada.
Thank
you.
Thank you so much for joining me. I can tell you that you were one of the sparks of the engine that make me continue with this idea, because when I met you and I invite you, it was something, it was a task, because I was doing the podcast course and I was doing the English class, and my teacher pushed me, and I said, okay, I need to do a podcast where I will apply my English, and I will also look for purpose of lives, meanings, connections, cultural diversity, and all this. In some points, sometimes I just decide, I don't know, it's too much. I cannot handle this, because it's so many work, and I'm not native speaker. You know, other English native speakers, they will find super bad this idea of trying to speak English, but I could not choose another language to speak with my guests. Language, we don't have any more language in common. And I always stop and think, no, I already invite people. No, I need to move forward. So thank you for being this inspiration, even if you have no idea about
Well, I'm
that.
honored to be here. I mean, it's so nice. I've loved our discussion so much.
Thank you so much.
And so, yeah, I really celebrate you for doing this. I'm very inspired.
No, yeah, you are the one that inspire people around you, and continue to be like this. As I told you, we are this kind of person that you enter in the room and you fulfill the space, even if without saying nothing. Or you will continue to collect adventure and experience as an expat for a while. And the best of luck for you, for our family.
Thank you so much.
From navigating the bustling streets of Seoul to cherishing her diverse tapestry of her Canadian Lebanese heritage, Christine's story is a testament to the beauty of embracing diversity and overcoming challenge with resilience and grace. If you enjoyed this podcast as much as I did, please do not forget to subscribe, leave your review, and share it with your family and friends. Join us next time for another captivating episode where we will continue to explore the beauty and richness of cultural connections. Take care. See you next time. Bye-bye.